Good morning, everybody. So yesterday welcome to video 6. Yesterday I had a personal PCOS kind of doctor's visit, which I tend to have to go to pretty often, getting random things checked. I very much drive my own train with my PCOS care. I think with any chronic illness, but especially something that's hormone controlled, and especially PCOS because it's not very well understood, you have to be your number one health advocate. No one is going to do this for you. If you let everybody else in your medical care team decide what is good for you without your own research or seeking out other personal experiences, you are going to get put on the PCOS standard of care. And even my medical professional, which I'm so happy to have found her, she agrees that the PCOS standard of care is bullshit. So if you don't want to end up like everybody else, just managing your PCOS, right, a Band-Aid approach, and you actually want to put it into remission, set that intention and tell your healthcare providers that that is what your goal is. And if they don't think remission with PCOS is possible, switch doctors, because there are people out there who do believe you can and have seen it done. And I'm doing it all the time. I'm improving my PCOS constantly, like one step at a time. You have to break it down because PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, isn't anything other than a collection of symptoms. It's not really anything particular, like one single gene mutation, or it's not obviously a disease and it's not contagious and all of these things. It's just a collection of symptoms. So what PCOS is there's a very critical hormonal axis that happens between our pituitary, our hypothalamus, our thyroid, our ovaries, our adrenals, right? And basically what happens with PCOS is there's something that happens that impacts our testosterone and insulin levels, and therefore we create too much testosterone for most of us. PCOS is being used broadly as a term to describe lots of hormonal imbalances right now, as long as you kind of have the same criteria for diagnosis. So some people, my PCOS looks really different than other people's PCOS. I have a very, very classic kind of textbook PCOS, which is absent or missing periods. So misbehaving, they used to be super long, like 100 days, 90 days in between cycles, or 80 days or 70 days. And I finally now, through ketogenic, got it down to 32 days. The second thing is high androgens, high testosterone. Androgen is just a derivative of testosterone. So that can manifest in lots of ways. You can actually lose your hair. You can grow male pattern hair growth on your body. Just excessive weight, on any kind of sign of androgen excessive levels. And then the third one being cysts on your ovaries. And I actually didn't know until yesterday that I actually did have cysts on my ovaries. I've known for 20 years that there's something wrong with me. I've known for about 10 years that it's considered polycystic ovarian syndrome, but it wasn't really ever critical for me to get an ultrasound and look. But I was finally really curious, so I went yesterday. And I do have these two string of pearl, classic presentation of ovaries, and there's just cysts lined up on there. And what that means is my cycle isn't fully working. So it's an issue with the follicle that gets stuck, basically, because I don't, or I haven't been previously when I wasn't cycling, I wasn't ovulating. So right now I have normal cycles, which was step 1, thank you, Keto. And now step 2, now that I'm cycling, I can work towards ovulation. And my doctor yesterday, based on my imaging, was like, well, if you're cycling normally now, there shouldn't be any reason why you shouldn't start ovulating and these cysts go away. So it was like, PCOS is so emotional and there can be so many things wrapped up in it, especially according to your symptoms. So of the 3 things that I mentioned, the periods, the excess androgens, and the cysts, you only need 2 of the 3 to get diagnosed with PCOS. So my doctor yesterday, it was a good and a bad, right? It was tough to see the cysts in there, but it was also good to know that he's pretty confident that if I keep doing what I'm doing, there's no reason why I can't ovulate. So that's exciting. So I posted about that yesterday, and there was a lot of interest, so I thought I would just pop on and do my PCOS little story for you guys and the evolution of things. So I've never, prior to right now, I've never had cycles back to back before. Ever since I was 14 and I got my first period, it was never regular. It was all over the place. I think through high school and most of college, maybe I'd get a period once a quarter. And then what would happen was I'd finally get my period and I would like be bleeding like ridiculous amounts. So they put me on birth control. And again, I was 18 years old. I didn't know the difference. I was on the, I just did what they told me to do. I never saw an OBGYN. I just saw a nurse practitioner, and they like literally saw me in 2 minutes. No thought was put into it whatsoever. So with that small doctor's visit, I was on orthotricycline for 4 years. And then eventually I was having some health issues, lots of like yeast infections, and like all these really weird things were happening. And I thought it was the birth control's fault. It was really my eating habits, which I didn't know. But I decided to switch to Mirena, which is an IUD, and I was on that for 4 more years. And all that happens, and please listen, all that happens when you take synthetic hormones is that it is a Band-Aid for what is going on in your body. I just extended my PCOS story for 8 more years, almost 10 years, longer than I had to. Now, I was in my 20s, and I really wasn't in a position to take ownership of my health. No one in their 20s really is. But my biggest advice to you is if you've been given the PCOS standard of care of birth control and metformin, please consider other options. I am passionate about holistically putting my PCOS into remission because our bodies as women are responsible for more things than just creating a baby. PCOS isn't just an infertility obstacle. It has everything to do with how our entire body works, about how easy it is for us to lose weight, and keeping our weight down is so critically important so we don't become pre-diabetic or, God forbid, diabetic, or any of the other chronic illness that can come from being too heavy or having bad high cholesterol or all the other chronic diseases that come with being too overweight. How about mental health? I didn't like living in anxiety and depression like I did earlier on in my time before I started taking care of myself. Like, I want to be healthy and vibrant physically and emotionally for the rest of my life. So I take my PCOS diagnosis as a blessing, because when I look around at everyone else who's in my age group, I'm healthier, really, than most of these people. I'm not on anti-anxiety meds. I'm not on stomach meds. A lot of people have like IBS or all these chronic stomach issues. I do not, because I take care of myself. And that's only going to continue. I'm 32 years old. Like, what's it going to look like in 20 years when I've learned to take care of myself in my late 20s and early 30s, and all these people are learning about it for the first time? Like, I'm very excited that I'm 32 and know how to take care of my body. So I didn't learn anything about food and nutrition and PCOS until I actually had tried a lot of other things first. I did the metformin like they told me to. I did acupuncture. I did progesterone creams, which made me so depressed. I think I lasted a week. It was just like draw the curtains, and I was just like crying in bed for like a week. It was awful. I did a lot of these things before I ever took ownership of nutrition. And so I switched to, and I was in a really stressful job as well, which totally exacerbated it. I was still working in politics in DC, and super anxious, super depressed, really, 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 really awful time, really bad. So I learned about clean eating, and I read my first book ever on food called The Food and Mood Solution, and it was about balancing your blood sugar, taking vitamin D's, omega-3s, everything your neurotransmitters need in your brain to work correctly. And so I really felt a lot better doing that. So I wouldn't say my PCOS improved a ton, but my mental health improved significantly, and I lost probably like 10 or 15 pounds just from getting off of processed food and getting off of booze and all that stuff. So that was like my first little hit of holistic health, and I kind of understood what it meant to be in control of my own body, and I was like, okay, I'm obsessed with this. So I actually left politics and created a nutrition consulting business, and I got certified as a holistic health coach, and I was helping other people. And that time I was eating well myself. We moved to California, we did all these things, but my PCOS wasn't improving a ton. So I was still like looking for more answers, and then I discovered essential oils. And essential oils are critical for me because not only do some of them boost the right hormones that I need, I'm actually wearing some right now, like right topically over my ovaries because I want to ovulate this month, or I'm going to try to. But also, when you have PCOS or an endocrine issue, you need to get all the toxic chemicals out of your life. So my beauty care has to be non-toxic. My bathroom products, my shampoo, all that stuff has to be non-toxic. The cleaning supplies we use in our house have to be non-toxic. I don't touch any of that stuff. I don't touch toxic laundry detergent. I don't touch Roundup, for our front yard. I don't touch any of that stuff. Not to mention that taking essential oils internally for your body is great for detoxing and all these things. And maybe I'll get to these issues more in my 90 plus days I have left talking about keto. But essential oils were a huge one for me because I got to remove all of these other toxic chemicals, not to mention just managing everyday wellness. You have an upset tummy or some seasonal reaction to pollen or any of that stuff. I have something at my fingertips. I don't have to take some crazy chemical to help me feel better. I have essential oils to support me in all of that. I've been sick once in 5 years, so not taking all that other medication really, really helps. And then lastly, I discovered ketogenic, which is why you're here. You're learning about ketogenic through all my video series. It's a lot to learn, but it's really amazing. And what keto does for PCOS is it literally changes your body from using glucose and the hormone insulin, which tells our cells to open up and let the glucose into our cells, shutting off that response does so much good for the body, especially if you have an endocrine disorder, weight to lose, or you're trying to work on certain markers like I am with my testosterone, progesterone, estrogen, all that kind of stuff. So when you dial down your hormone insulin, when you dial that down, your other hormones can heal easier. So when I switch off of a glucose-powered body onto a fat-powered body, my body's using, like I always say, one of two fuel sources at that time. The dietary fat I'm putting in my body or the adipose tissue, the fat cells that exist in our system, right? When our bodies do that, we're no longer using that insulin and we're no longer on this insulin roller coaster, and my other hormones can heal. Okay, that's so critically important. Second is losing weight helps PCOS significantly. I'm all about body positivity and all this stuff on Instagram and all these things, but we cannot glorify obesity. It is so incredibly dangerous for PCOS, for chronic health, for long-term mental wellness. It is so. We know this universally. Obesity is unsafe. I got a big old PCOS hippie body, right? And I got curves for days and I really love that. But keeping my BMI down, keeping my body fat percentage down, I know is a predictor of long-term health. So I definitely use keto to maintain and lose weight because it's like the silver bullet for PCOS improvement as well as long-term health. So using keto and switching my body into fat adaptation has improved my cycles significantly. So now I have 3 cycles in a row of normal length periods, which is amazing. And people in the PCOS world will tell you that can't be done just through nutrition alone. And I've done it. So I've done it through keto. I also take a good bit of supplements. I take my everyday multivitamin, my omega-3, and an antioxidant blend, and that's all from doTERRA. And then I also take good morning, Nancy. I'm so glad you like the videos. Thank you for being with me every morning. It's so fun. And then I also take supplements for my testosterone, my DHEA, my total cholesterol, testosterone, because I'm trying to get those numbers down to control hirsutism and all the other androgen symptoms that I have. Okay, so PCOS can be controlled with nutrition and supplements, and that's the journey that I'm on. So the next step for me, now that I've regulated my cycles pretty consistently, this is why this is video part 1, my next step is ovulation. So I will check back in with you guys on my PCOS progress as I continue with keto and my supplementation, and let you guys know when I get positive for ovulation, because that's going to be a sign that my body's working normally and I'm putting my body into remission with PCOS. My third step will probably be getting my DHEA and testosterone numbers not just in range, but like median range, to really shut that off. Because once you grow hair on your body that's hormonally like instigated, there's a very sensitive androgen receptor on it that's very difficult to get rid of. So I want to bring my androgen levels not just within range, but like median. So that would be my third step, and I'm looking forward to all these things, and I'll fill you guys in when they happen. Thank you guys so much. Bye bye.